Welcome to Ain't No Way I'm Sick MMA. I'm Gabriel. I'm going to run through the top 5 pre-UFC prospects. So these are guys that haven't made the UFC yet, but when they do, they'll be really good talents. A lot of them already have contracts, but haven't had their first UFC fight. I think every guy except for 2. Starting with the honorable mention, we're going to mention Paul Hughes. I personally really like Paul Hughes. He had a really good fight with AJ McKee. I thought he clearly won the unanimous decision, but I don't think there's a chance he comes to the UFC anytime soon. He's still really young. He's off of Cage Warriors most recently. So I see a scenario where he gets to the UFC at some point, kind of like MVP Michael Venom Page did. That's my hope. He's a really fun, young, scrappy fighter, great anti-wrestling, and really good offensive instincts. So he's a guy that will push you off the cage, land a knee as you're coming off it. He has a great ability to sprawl, and from that, he's able to mount his offense into really good ground and pound. He's also really fun on the mic, but I don't know if he comes to the UFC, so that's why he's set to my honorable mention for this video. Starting the list off at number 5, Mario Pinto. He's a bit of a lard bucket, but he has really good defensive IQ. With Mario's hand speed, he reminds me a lot of Waldo Cortez Costa. The only difference is that he's actually a lot more pressure-based. Cortez Acosta sits on the outside of the pocket and just throws fastballs, considering he used to be a pitcher. But I like Mario Pinto's style a lot more. He's pressure-based. He's really exciting. His Dana White Contender Series debut, he knocked this guy out first round cold. So really good potential. I could see him cutting weight to maybe like heavyweight because he's so much of a lard bucket. But if he can find a way to fill out his frame and continue at heavyweight, he'd be a very good talent for heavyweight. At number 4, we've got a little bit of an oddball pick, Andreas Gustafsson. I think Andreas Gustafsson has a lot of aura to him. He isn't an aura merchant. There's a difference. Aura merchants are guys who rely on their aura to win fights, and then there's guys who just have aura. I think Gustafsson kind of has an aura. He's an absolute marauder. I think the thing I like about Gustafsson the most is he's a grimy, grit, in-your-face, clinch fighter, but he makes it entertaining. He's going to drag your arms. He has insane pace, overhooks, underhooks, constantly pummeling, knees to the body, knees to the head, disgusting elbows. Everything he does is with ill intent. He wants to knock you out with every strike he throws. So, and he also has a good chin. His cardio base is stupid. I think he trains in the mountains or something in Sweden. I don't know what he does, but he's got great cardio base, and he is 33 years old, but I think that plays into his hand where younger guys think, oh, I can get an upper on this guy. They try and shoot big shots. They get clinched up, and then it's all over from there. Reminds me of a stronger Neil Magny with better striking. But I think he has really good potential, even with the age of 33 behind him. A little bit of a curveball here. Harry Hardwick is at number 3. I like Harry Hardwick for a lot of reasons, but I think the biggest reason is his toughness. He has a really good cardiovascular system when it comes to the striking and grappling, right? He can grapple for a good 25 minutes and then still get up for a 6th round if he wanted to and strike you out. He doesn't get tired with the arms, has great volume past the grappling, which a lot of guys struggle with. They get out the 1st and 2nd round after grappling like a monster for 2 rounds, and they can't throw the hands. Harry Hardwick can. His head movement isn't the best. His striking isn't the most orthodox. He's very unorthodox, weird fighter to watch on the feet, but he kind of finishes almost every guy he fights. He's at the age of 30. So not the youngest guy, not a lot of potential to grow, but I think he gives a lot of guys at featherweight trouble. I don't think he could be a contender, but top 15, honestly, maybe if you gave him some time in the featherweight division to grow and, showcase his striking. And he is pretty funny on the mic. He's a little bit of a scouser, but in the bad way, which is really funny because his brother George Hardwick was on Dana White's Contender Series earlier this year. Didn't perform the best, but he's such a soft-spoken Brit. Oh, I'm analytical. And I think when he was throwing the left hand, I kept dipping, and he recognized that, where Harry Hardwick is kind of like just a meatloaf retard, which plays into his hand a lot, and I think it pushes the pace, and he's fun to watch. So I would love to see Harry Hardwick get a Dana White Contender Series contract and go from there. All right, with number 2, we've got Austin Bashi, and this is where the list starts, where guys I actually could see going to the UFC and maybe contending for a belt. I love his striking. Dana White Contender Series debut, extremely impressive. Relies on its athleticism a little bit too much, but I think also that can play into his hand in the future if he grows a little bit more with it. I think he has a lot more to learn. I could see him getting too hard of a jump in competition and then jumping the gun a little bit, especially against, other fellow featherweights. The only reason I don't have him at number 1 is he's making his debut January 11th, which is in about 2 weeks. But he's doing it against Christian Rodriguez, who's known to fraud check prospects. It's a really big jump in competition. I'm surprised they're putting Bashi against C-Rod immediately. Christian Rodriguez is, as you know, the guy who kind of fraud checked Raul Rosas in his shitty gas tank. It'll be interesting how Bashi can get past Christian Rodriguez's offensive grappling and also his pretty crisp striking. If he can get past the first two rounds and has good cardio still, I could see Bashi grinding out a decision win, but I don't think he finishes C-Rod. If he can, he's definitely featherweight contender material for the future. Topping off the list, we have Kody Steele. I think Kody Steele has limitless potential. Grapples no-gi with the greatest grapplers on the planet in B-Team and CJI and all these crazy invitationals, UFC Fight Pass. You always see him on these big events, and now that he's transitioned to MMA properly, he's 7-0, has made his Dana White Contender Series debut against a really good guy in a really good fight, and impressed. He is pressure-based with his striking, and he's able to grit and grind you down to the floor, and then from there, his grappling is second to none. He only has 1 submission from those 7 wins, but it's because I think he's trying to flesh out his striking, which, a lot of grapplers fall in love with the striking, but Kody Steele can always rely on the grappling, knowing how good he is at it. Kody Steele will translate to the UFC really beautifully, honestly. And with the training partners he has and the talent he has around him, I don't see how he doesn't improve to a point where he is a contender at some point. He's only 27, 7-0 to start his career. Of course, there's bumps along the road, but so far, flawless start, and I'm really excited to see him in the UFC. If we missed anyone from the pre-UFC list on these prospects, let us know in the comments. I'm not the most informed about regional MMA sometimes, but usually I am. So if I missed anyone slipped in the cracks, let me know in the comments. And yeah, hopefully I won't be sick for the next one. He literally just like, ding, 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 ding. like so you're just like he like zombies forward, like just eats like 7 shots, then walks forward, shoots a double leg, sweeps to the side, just starts pounding on your head, and you're like, it's actually terrifying to watch.